This video is sponsored by Status Audio and Status Between Pro earbuds. You deserve better audio quality when listening to music, and most brands offer a variety of style and sound, but Status Audio truly offers the highest quality on the market. How does Status do it? Triple speaker drivers, 3 speaker drivers in each earbud to separate out bass, mids, and treble. The difference is noticeable the first time you listen with them. It truly feels like sound is being sent directly into your brain. It's that clear. Along with amazing audio quality through the triple driver, you also get massive battery life. 12 hours in the earbuds that are lightweight, and an additional 36 hours in the case. 48 hours of continuous playback through Status Between Pro. Use the code GETROCK to check out and get 10% off your order. Audiophile quality in a package and price that makes fidelity affordable and attainable. You can check out Status Between earbuds and more of their products through the Status Audio link in this video's description. Metalcore gets a bad rap. Notice how I put in the title, yes really? It's because for every staunch, die-hard defender of metalcore, there are more people who laugh at it. That's not an exaggeration either. I for one have said before that metalcore is plagued with bands that sound identical to each other, but I've also talked about great metalcore bands, so this time I want to point out 10 great metalcore albums. Think of this video as a sampling of great albums for people who either love or want to get more into metalcore. This is not a top 10, no ranking. I'll be ordering these in chronological order to prevent any argument of favoritism. Only one album entry per band, so that the way there's a little bit more variety also. Finally, I'm aware there are more than 10 great metalcore albums. I know a lot of you metalcore fans are going to be very upset that your favorite album isn't on the list. If you know of another great metalcore album, leave a comment below and let everyone know. You know how these videos work. Let's talk about great metalcore albums. Converge was ahead of their time. Converge were even ahead of the beginning of metalcore bands coming forward. In 2001, Jane Doe came into the world kicking and screaming and growling and probably terrifying casual rock fans who did not know what in the world this was. It was Jane Doe, and it was anything but anonymous and vague. Converge kicked the door down for metalcore. At the time, Jane Doe featured new members in Converge, and that lineup has been the same for over 20 years, along with Jane Doe being a predecessor for What to Expect for decades. This is an album that is always appreciated, but sometimes forgotten until a new Converge album gets released and people start talking about how good Jane Doe was again. You want anger, you want crazy riffs, you want breakdowns, Jane Doe has it. Converge delivers it repeatedly too, through poetic writing that is ferocious. That's what Jane Doe has, and that sets it apart from heavy music at the time and what many metalcore bands do today. Converge puts many groups to shame. The end of Heartache and the introduction of Howard Jones to Killswitch Engage. Not only an example of a band rebounding with a new singer, but pushing the boundaries in metalcore with a powerhouse of a vocalist. This album still engages longtime fans of the band regardless of what singer is preferred, and it's still heralded as one of the best and possibly the most recognizable album from Killswitch. That is a statement considering how much Killswitch Engage has done. Songs from the album started getting featured in soundtracks, and the band had wide exposure as they were breaking through. I cannot deny that Howard's singing was a huge focus that instantly made listeners take this band seriously. There is instant appreciation for the force in that man's voice. His volume is clear, and it pairs so well with Adam's wild guitar playing that Killswitch had something few metalcore bands could touch at the time. I love Jesse Leach, I love Howard Jones. You can't lose with either, and you definitely cannot lose with the end of Heartache. Underoath is one of the bands that truly helped set a base for metalcore in the future and through the 2000s, and it was their Only Chasing Safety that I feel gave them their biggest boost to an audience. This was 2004, where metalcore bands were still trying to define their sound and stand out amongst so many other groups, and here comes Underoath on tooth and nail, getting a gold certified album. There are many metalcore bands that were inspired by their Only Chasing Safety for integrating the screaming and singing all over the place in different songs. That wasn't a common thing back in 2004. Their Only Chasing Safety had a big influence into screamo at the time, while being that standout in metalcore, all while still identifying themselves as somewhat Christian and at the time being a part of Tooth and Nail. This was an album that caught the industry and other groups' attention in massive ways that led to Underoath supporting Coheed and Cambria and The Used in 2005. At a young age, Matt Heafy won an Album of the Year award from Kerrang! Trivium stormed into the metal world and upset many old-school metalheads and gatekeepers. Ascendancy was so good that it made instant fans through the United States and Europe, and then the world over in a short amount of time. More proof that good music and good things in general can actually come out of Florida. Ascendancy for a long time was the high bar that Trivium set for themselves, and they did it at a young age. On top of that, Trivium have made many distinctive sounding albums in recent years that are fantastic, but Ascendancy still stands out as one of Trivium's best, and rightfully so, as the guitar work alone is enough of a selling point. Ascendancy shows off more of that aggressive side of metalcore with just a little bit of thrash that still highlights clean singing with a great presentation. It's not all brutal anger, it's a range of emotion. It's also worth pointing out that this is Matt's personal favorite Trivium album. Going back to setting their own high bar, it's a high bar worth reaching. Now we jump to 2007 with a big surprise to many people, especially an entire country where Horizons charted in the top 10 of Parkway Drive's native Australia on the album charts. That is unprecedented for most metalcore bands in general, let alone in 2007 for a sophomore release by a relatively young band. There was a massive amount of talent showcased on Horizons, and it set Parkway Drive for success. Parkway Drive have remained consistent for many years, and I think Horizons is the album that needs to be appreciated for the massive entry it was. Produced by Adam of Killswitch Engage, Horizons was initially not received well across the board, but over time, it became something appreciated by most metalcore fans. I think when many people heard Carrion for the first time, curiosity just took over and people rushed to check out what else Parkway Drive could do. This is another metalcore band that proved at a younger age just how much they had to offer through an early album, and the fans stuck with them because of it. My personal favorite Bring Me the Horizon album, and an album that helped shape the sound of metalcore for several years. When Sempiternal was released, Bring Me the Horizon was shot to a massive audience that created a phenomenon for metalcore fans, along with ushering in a new wave of support for bands like them. Sempiternal became a banner album for many metalcore lovers. It stayed a banner anthem for metalcore fans even after Bring Me the Horizon left that style and went on to further experimentation. Ollie Sykes became much more focused while still giving all that intensity he was known for. It was Jordan Fish, however, that truly brought his insight and made Bring Me the Horizon stand out from so many generic metalcore and deathcore bands. The group's trajectory was changed massively due to Fish's creativity with Sykes, and their success has been evident. For what it's worth, my favorite Bring Me the Horizon songs come from Sempiternal, and I'm willing to bet that's a sentiment shared by many. Architects fans have their own personal favorite album, and as far as metalcore goes, they are all almost safe choices as what the standard for metalcore should be. Holy Hell was something much more powerful and personal in 2018. This was the harrowing and depressing aftermath for Architects that not only sounds like a highlight for the band, but a great example of metalcore in the late 2010s. Architects lost a brother, friend, and bandmate in Tom, who was a key part of the group. Holy Hell was the cathartic, desperate follow-up for a group to move on after such a tragedy resulted in a crushing album with many high points sonically, while also being devastating in subject matter. This is a metalcore album that also has a massive payoff with everything building up to Doomsday, which I stand is one of the best metalcore songs ever. Not only is it a miracle that Architects were able to rebuild after tragedy, but they built something that's going to last a long time. I know I'm cheating by having two albums here, but they labeled the second one a number 2, and it's my own list, I can do what I want. Ice Nine Kills have been an established act for years, but once Spencer Charnas and company committed to the love of horror, the Silver Scream and Welcome to Horrorwood pushed the band to amazing, charting, mainstream heights. Both albums gave metalcore something fun. The Silver Scream was a game changer for many metal fans, not just metalcore. This album was filled with differently composed songs, each dedicated to horror franchises, with each song sounding unique. Not just because of the slasher villain or respective tribute, the music is all styled differently too. Welcome to Horrorwood, the Silver Scream 2 pushed the boundaries even further, working with guest musicians, pushing the horror tributes past movies to literature and video games, and still making it great. This varied music that did not sound like the Silver Scream, and it all worked. Great albums for metalcore that are a cut above the rest. Yes, I'm aware that joke was cheesy, but if they could pull it off, so can I. Non-traditional metalcore, alt metal, and whatever you want to call what Loathe is doing is great. I Let It In and It Took Everything can be described in many subgenres, and I do feel metalcore is accurate for many songs they do. What's great about this album is the wild amount of variety in tone and sound through each song while keeping that metalcore and alt metal identity. It took and has everything we could want. Do you love metalcore? You'll probably love this album. Do you love Deftones? You'll probably love this album. Do you want a metalcore album that isn't the same chugga chugga for 45 minutes straight? You will absolutely love I Let It In and It Took Everything. Loathe released this at a time where everything was aligned perfectly and a world of potential was in front of them, and they had to stay at home for a year. I truly feel this album is something that should be experienced live, not just heard, but it also should be completely heard in full. Another recent album showing a different side of metalcore with amazing music in different styles. Let it in and let it take everything. The latest entry on this list comes in the refreshing form of having a metalcore vocalist in Courtney LaPlante be great at different styles of singing, where many metalcore bands rely on one style over another as being the highlight. Spiritbox caught many people's attention in 2021, and Eternal Blue lived up to the high expectations that people had. The hype for this album was big, and it was achieved. After I Wrestled the Bear Once, Courtney and Mike brought something impactful with Eternal Blue, and this album ended up on many Best of 2021 lists for rock and metal sites. The album flow, the creativity, the presentation, all of it showcased the best of what current metalcore could be. There was a reason this band had so much hype before Eternal Blue came out, and there's a reason why this album has gained so much support from metalcore fans across the board. The music was a highlight of 2021 and offers something more than what 80% of generic metalcore bands are pushing. And that was a look at just some great metalcore albums. Know of another great album that metalcore fans can agree on? Leave a comment, let everyone know. Big thanks to my patrons and special thanks to Chris Doman and Dom Noble. You can have a say in upcoming videos, get weekly new music playlists, and see videos early by supporting Rocked on Patreon. Please click the link in the video description to support the channel. Please subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of upcoming videos, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I know some of you are still going to be salty about that "yes really" line like you were with the new metal albums video. It's just a joke, not worth getting upset about.